on the loose. We talk to a lot of people in city government, the school systems, and other people in Medina County. We're very pleased to have Mayor Robin Laubaugh with us today. Robin, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to join us.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Did you ever imagine, as a little girl growing up, being a mayor of a city like Wadsworth?
No, never entered my mind, never did. Honestly, I always loved community service and was involved in the community over the years, and that eventually led to my involvement in city council, and then that led on to mayor, but prior to that, never dreamed of it.
So really your experience in city council prompted you to take the plunge and run for mayor?
Yes. I was on city council for 10 years. I served at council at large for 6 years, and then 4 years as president of council. Jim Renacci, my predecessor, was no longer going to run for election and for mayor, and so we needed somebody to run, and that was me.
So how long now have you been our mayor of Wadsworth?
This was 14 years, almost 14 years now, yeah.
What about re-election?
Oh, I'm going to keep running. I love it.
Now, that brings me to a question. As a former government teacher, it seems like we get really excited about federal elections and the presidency, but local elections to me is the backbone of our reality. And why do you think it's really important to vote for local elections?
I think they are very, very important, as you well know, mainly because you are electing those individuals to make decisions that are really going to affect your day-to-day life. The citizens donate those well-earned tax dollars to the city, and they entrust in us to make good decisions to be able to provide a high quality of life and to provide high quality services for them to enjoy.
As mayor, do you have some opportunities to appoint people to specific responsibilities and positions?
Yes. So I appoint our service director, and that's Mr. Patrick, Robert Patrick.
We've had him on the show.
There you go.
And, with the solar fields, and it was, boy, really a great show.
Yes. And so you know that he supervises all the different services here in the city. Also the safety director, and that's Matt Hiscock. And so he, of course, is directing the services, the safety services, so our police, fire, and EMS. I also appoint our HR director as well as our economic development director.
So that's quite a job, interesting job you have. So they're not elected by the people.
No.
You have that opportunity, and it seems like several of those people have been been to the serving city for some time.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. I think in other communities, sometimes those positions kind of come and go depending upon who is in office. But many years ago, it was decided, Wadsworth, let's go ahead and get those positions in. Let's fill those positions, and let's make sure that they are here for the time, because often those positions, particularly our safety and service director, you have that institutional knowledge that you need for the long haul. And it helps us. You think of our previous service director, for example, Chris Easton, and prior to him, Bill Lyon had been here forever. So
continuity really helps, doesn't it?
It really
people know, and they can talk to those other people and get things organized. Very, very important. In traveling around the city, I've noticed a lot of improvements on some of the highways and byways. Hartman Road and certainly Seville Road, Reimer Road, Leatherman, just to mention a few. Was that any finances coming from the federal government with COVID-19, or did the city just have that in mind to do those major roads?
Yeah. Well, actually, we've got a couple programs going on, and one is the roads that you were talking about. Many of those are also in the township, and so that was a collaborative effort to get the those collector streets done. But we're actually right now in the midst of it's called our Street Improvement Program, and that's an annual program that we do. And so you'll see some of the streets right now, they're being milled. We're doing some concrete work. We've done a lot of work to prepare to even get to this point. And believe it or not, it's close to around $1 million every year, all told. I'm not saying just this program here, but all told that we devote towards improving our streets every year. And I have to say that is possible due to the 0.1% income tax rate that was passed by the citizens 10 years ago. And we are very grateful for that. And that will be sunsetting this year. And actually, we're going to the voters in November so that they can do that again, that 0.1% income tax, because we're doing 4 to 5 times what we used to do on streets. And so they're in much better shape than they were, say, 10 years ago.
Yeah, a person I ran into that they joked that they couldn't go on any quadrant or Wadsworth without construction going on. But this is the time you can't do it in December or January, can you?
We try to do the best we can to do it actually even earlier. We try to get it done in the summer because obviously it is difficult, and especially with traffic for our schools, we're trying to minimize that. But due to COVID and some other things, it kind of got pushed a little bit, but normally we try to get it done in the summer in those condensed months.
You talked a moment ago about cooperation, collaboration with the township, and you just mentioned about the schools. The county, I'm sure, is involved, the state. Why is it important to go ahead and I'm sure other cities and other counties, why is it really significant to work with those entities?
Yeah. I will say it's a tremendous importance. For example, we have a standing meeting once a month with the schools. Right now, we have a weekly meeting with the other cities and the county, with our health commissioner, with COVID things. I speak regularly with our state legislators, for example, Sharon Ray. Very fortunate to have our own state representative right here in Wadsworth, who's uniquely aware of the needs of our community. It's very, very important to have good relationships with those entities and individuals, because we often have projects that kind of coordinate with each other. But also, for example, with our state legislators, they can advocate for us, and they are, as I said, uniquely aware of our needs, and they say Wadsworth needs this. We have a little bit of a different situation because, for example, we have our own electric division, and there's some nuances that we need help with on the legislative end with that, and so we're just very, very fortunate to have her and others to work with.
Not only have I seen all sorts of road improvements along the way, but it seems like even with the problem with getting resources and building material, there's building going, Hartman Road and other locations. Why are people still, with those impediments in front of them, why are people still building in Wadsworth?
Why are they building in Wadsworth? Well, I've told people this before, but the secret is out. Wadsworth is a great place to live, to work, to raise a family, and so they're coming, and so they need housing. They want to build. Wadsworth also is kind of unique in that we do have land that surrounds us, and so we often, I won't say often, but we will have individuals that will approach us that say, hey, listen, we'd like to come to Wadsworth. We'd like to have our property be included in Wadsworth, particularly because they want to use our services. And so we do permit annexation. And so that's probably another reason why we continue to grow. But I think the main reason is the secret's out.
No question about it. What about the apartment complex? Could you talk about that for a little bit on Seville Road?
Sure. The complex is called Santee Landing, and it's a 45-unit apartment complex, family-oriented, 2-3 bedrooms. It's a Medina Metro Housing Authority project. They worked with the Ohio Housing Finance Authority and utilized tax credits from that group in order to provide affordable housing here in Wadsworth.
That has to make you feel good that the good news of Wadsworth will spread and will attract people from other locations. You
bet. We're particularly happy about that location because it's located close to a lot of our major manufacturers, and from what I'm hearing, that they could use some extra people.
I see the signs on both sides of the street.
Yes.
I see the signs.
Yes.
Does the city get involved in that? I go past Luke Engineering
Yes.
and those post office, I thought they were going to grab me the other day and recruit me. Roofing. My wife said, hey, you'd fall off the roof if you get that job.
Yeah.
But does the city have anything to do with
Yes.
advancing the word that, hey, there's manufacturing jobs and other jobs out there?
We sure do. We work with them pretty closely, and we're very aware of who needs positions filled and so forth, and we certainly work with our own website and list that. We also work with Medina County and work with them because they have many programs to help get the word out. We have worklocal.net is a program that promotes trying to get people to, instead of going out of Medina County, to stay right here in Medina County, or stay right here in Medina County to get jobs.
And the tax benefits
You
for the
bet.
city,
You
then the
bet.
city
You bet.
is not unhappy about getting a few
Why drive
extra
a half hour away
That's right.
to stay right here in Medina County, in particular here in Wadsworth?
I did a show last Friday with Karen Barton in regards to fair districts throughout Ohio, and that triggered a discussion about the census. Can you tell us what the census has told us about and how it has implications for Wadsworth?
Okay. Well, Wadsworth was the fastest growing community here in the county. We grew a little bit over 11% over the last decade. And what that tells me, once again, is that Wadsworth is that desirable place to live, and so people are coming to Wadsworth to live. But it also told me that it is at a healthy growth, a healthy rate. You don't want to grow too fast, because if you grow too fast, it's taxing on the services, and it's hard to keep up with that. So 1.5% per year, that's just fine. That's a healthy growth. You want to have some growth in a community, because if you're not growing, you're sliding, and so you need to have some growth to keep a community lively and growing.
You know, it seems like the outer edges of the city, as you said, there's land available. It seems like it seems to be inching out further and further as time goes on. Am I imagining things?
No, you're not, because that's where you can grow, honestly. We do have a few buildable lots in the community, but not many, and so people have to go outside of that area to be able to construct.
Mayor Laubaugh, Ohio Magazine recently had a coverage about Wadsworth being a desirable place to live. What did they see in Wadsworth?
That was an interesting process. Wadsworth was nominated to be one of the best hometowns, and so we were on their radar screen. And then they came to Wadsworth. They interviewed myself. They also interviewed our Main Street director, Adrian Patrick. And, talked and asked us lots of questions. Of course, mine was more community-wide, and also talking about the services and so forth that we provide. Ms. Patrick was also asked, and of course she was more the downtown-oriented. But the main thing is that they had several criteria, 5, 6 parameters that they were looking at. Our education, our cultural, our heritage, community spirit, those types of things is what they were very much interested in. And so certainly I spoke at length concerning our varied services that we provide. I spoke a lot about our school system, our community pride. You can't go to a football game without feeling, we're from Wadsworth, and we all have a red and black on.
Blue Tip Parade.
Blue Tip Parade, and so forth. And actually we spoke a lot about the Blue Tip Match, and how it was here in Wadsworth, and of course our logo and our theme, community match, unmatched, and that sort of thing. So anyways, it was an excellent experience, let's say.
It has to make you and the administration feel very positive that, what you've done is paying dividends, and you're going to continue in that same light.
Yeah. No, it really is fulfilling. We feel like there's been a lot of momentum over the last several years. We've made some improvements, and we've got an army of people, army of volunteers, army of our employees here at the city that work hard each and every day to make it just a little bit better than the day before. And it's nice to see some recognition for that.
Mayor, why don't we talk a little bit about our location here, the Trolley Line House, and Drew has given us a good position to take a look at who does all the flowers. Just beautiful.
Well, we had a little help with that. Friends of Wadsworth Trails spend hours and hours and hours beautifying this area. This home is actually kind of unique. It started out, obviously this is right here on the trail, and we kind of had to figure out how do we go off of the street, because originally it was going to be on Silver Crest. And boy, to get it off the street would be really nice, but we needed to have one property, and that's this house.
The Thomas property.
The Thomas property. So we're very grateful to that family because they were willing to sell this property to the city. And because of that, we now have, it's approximately 2 acres, a home along with some beautiful green space, and it goes into a pavilion area over there. But it's a wonderful new asset. I tell people this is kind of Wadsworth's hidden gem because really it hasn't been completely discovered yet.
That's true. And, time permits, we'll go inside and take a little tour if that's okay.
Yes.
And I learned just walking around this morning that it's a Monarch way station.
Yeah.
The Monarchs in their trip to south, there's milkweed and some other plants that they like, and then they can rest on their journey south.
Yeah. Friends of the Wadsworth Trails, they developed this butterfly garden, and also they have done all the landscaping completely around the home as well. So they have beautified this place, but also provided, a wonderful butterfly and, as you said, Monarch way station. So, anyways, we're very fortunate. Yeah.
I saw a parent, a father, on his bike today with his son on the back. They both had helmets. And hello, good morning, how you doing? So, and I come one day down the path, and it's total from the post office to Silver Creek and back. It's 4 miles.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it really is keeping Wadsworth healthy and adds to the walking challenge that I'm involved in.
That's right.
And that has to make you feel happy that this not only has been here for a little while, but it also gets people out and about, especially with COVID.
Yeah, no, it really does. I'm actually a frequent user of this trail as well. And you see walkers, you see people on bikes, you see people running, you see people, with dogs. I mean,
Pushing baby buggies?
Pushing baby buggies, yes, you bet. It's a well-used trail, and it really has been a nice addition to our city.
All right, we'll take a break and go inside and maybe take a little tour inside the trolley. Thank you very much. We'll be right back. Back with Mayor Laubaugh, and we're inside taking a little tour of the trolley line house, and this is the entryway from where we came around the side and came through the double doors, and this looks like a kitchenette.
I know. Well, as the first thing that everybody says when they walk in here, they're like, wow, I didn't realize we had this. And as I said, it's one of those hidden gems. But yeah, we have actually a full kitchen over here, and which is really nice. And as you remember that this was a home, this is the Thomas home, and so it's not unusual that they have a kitchen, but it really does work out wonderfully when groups and individuals are utilizing it.
The history of this, you said it wasn't easy to go ahead and plan this and come down this path all the way to Silver Creek. Give us a little background again of how that happened and when the trolley house actually was purchased by the city.
Yeah. Well, it's been several years ago when we actually purchased it. It was actually, as long as we've had the trail, right prior to that was when we purchased it. But really, it was always desired to get this property, but initially it wasn't in the cards. Obviously, there's an expense to that and extra work to do that. But I will tell you, I was actually physically walking that route that the trail would be on, and we crested and we started walking on Silver Crest. And myself, as well as the engineers that were with us, and Harry Stark, who was really the individual that worked, I would say he was the point person on this project. We just recognized that, we really want to take another effort to see if we can get this home, because it would make the trail much more desirable, because all this area would be off the road. And I think, in my opinion, this is one of the prettiest parts of the trail. But also it would be much more safe, and then also add this wonderful new amenity to the city. And so it was worth the effort, but it was going to take longer for us to be able to develop the trail. So that was the con, but as I said, it was certainly worth the effort.
And I see a fire pit outside. Drew maybe could get a picture of that later on, and also a little sitting area that we had a Dr. Don was involved in that, and just recently developed, and certainly a lot of outside things too, besides the garden we saw.
There's lots of different amenities that many have contributed to beautify and add to this whole scenic area. You mentioned the fire pit. That actually was done by an Eagle Scout. We also have another Eagle Scout project. There's a nice kiosk that's here outside. You had mentioned, some benches and things, and I will say the Friends of Wadsworth Trails have, not only do they utilize this space, I will say they use the upstairs for their meetings and then, or excuse me, their offices, and then they have their meetings down here. But they also have contributed greatly to the improvement of this area. So, for example, the bikes outside, the bike racks, and there's a little bike station, let's say, out there.
Get those tires filled up with air.
Tires, exactly. So there's a lot of extra amenities that they've added to it as well.
I think that was Dr. Gordon's, a little sitting area.
Dr. Gordon.
Well, why don't we move through, Mayor, and see, looks like this is a little fireplace room here?
Yeah, a little fireplace room. A lot of people use this area to gather and perhaps have for, we've had showers here. People have had little graduation type parties, smaller ones, and so there really are some nice, a nice sitting area. I tell you, I think my favorite part is the view. They've got a beautiful view if you just keep a looking here.
Let's take a look at this view. These two beautiful chairs here.
Aren't these chairs unique?
They are. It looks like they're so solid and just, looking out the window. Yeah. I mean, it just shows an area of relaxation and forget all your troubles and worries, right?
I just love, they're very rustic and they're actually pretty comfortable, and you can look out at this beautiful garden that that has been planted.
Yes, why don't we move again into another area here? And again, you have a side view here, nice window
Lots
here.
Of lovely windows, and this area is an
and it looks like there was some work here on
well, that goes upstairs.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
But here we have, I've actually been in for a luncheon here. It's very nice, and so individuals can have this for a variety of occasions, but certainly for receptions and sitting, that sort of thing.
So it is available if a group wants to rent this out for a couple hours or half a day, it is available. How would they go about doing that?
They would call the city, and it actually goes through the service department, so the assistant to the service director is the one that takes care of all that. But yes, it's just a matter of signing up. Obviously, there's a charge for it because we have to clean and make sure everything's all good the next time. But I will say, not only it's available for gatherings of any sort from individuals, private individuals or organizations, we have a lot of our nonprofits that utilize it as well.
And this really room is pretty spacious. It looks like to me it could be have almost 30 people here.
Yeah, probably 20, 25, 30 people.
Wow, that's fantastic.
I think the capacity for the whole place is like 49 people.
Wow, okay, good. Yeah. And again, it's a situation where it seems like every year little things are being added, from when the city first purchased the property, it seems like every year something else is added, and it really, again, the citizens really will realize that this is something that they can take advantage of.
Oh yeah, we've been fortunate. There've been extra benches that are going on along the trail, because sometimes when you're out running or walking, you want to take a sit down and enjoy the scenery a little bit, and so those are some things that have been added recently. So.
What, looking down the road, what are some challenges that the city of Wadsworth and other cities face? Can you take a look at that and kind of have your guard up for looking at, besides COVID? We know that's...
I was going to say COVID is actually front and center because it does affect so many aspects. We were obviously very concerned. Last year we weren't quite sure what we were up against, and we were, I won't say pleasantly surprised, but we were relieved that at least the financial impact wasn't as great as we had anticipated. Income tax came in, maybe 1% above, but we did have some reductions in several areas. But we've been grateful because we've had some replacement of, we'll be having replacement of those revenue funds through the ARPA funds, and that's been helpful as well.
So how is the finances of the City of Wadsworth looking into 2022? You know, we think that's a long way away, but here at September, it's kind of the final quarter of 21, and 2022 is
hard to believe.
Quickly approaching.
Well, we're doing very well. When we were entering into COVID, we were doing absolutely excellent. We were just really thrilled at the position we were at. Very cautious during COVID, and we obviously pulled back on a lot of expenses. And because we pulled back on all those expenses, and because the impact of the finances were less than we had thought, we actually ended the year pretty well. Coming into this year, you know, we're doing well. We're still being very cautious and watchful, but I think we're going to be just fine.
We talked about cooperation with various entities, and understand the Wadsworth Schools are putting on an issue coming up, combination bond issue, tax levy, to develop a 5th and 6th grade off of Broad Street.
Yes.
How was the city involved in that? And I hate to give you another headache, but will traffic be a concern being formerly in that little area, and you know, with the elementary across the street overlook, and then the middle school, high school, and now maybe a 5 and 6 building? What will the traffic look like, Mayor?
Well, your question couldn't be more timely, and because we actually had a meeting with the schools yesterday on that very topic, and they certainly want to be very mindful of that. And one of the benefits is that, of course, 5th and 6th grade is at a later time than the high school and middle school, which is going to be very good. Certainly still are looking at the other aspects, because there's still a lot of moving parts and up in that neck of the woods, and so we want to be very mindful of that. So there's definitely a process. There'll be traffic studies that will be done to give a heads up if there's particular areas of concern, but they are very mindful of that, and I've been grateful because they've involved the city very early on, because they recognize that that's something that we want to make sure that we don't create an extra problem or issue in that neck of the woods. Right.
I've been told we're running out of time, but I can't end the show without asking you. I'm sure you're really pleased your daughter's moved back to town.
Oh,
a little bird told me.
Oh my goodness, I am so fortunate. Yes, yes. We were very surprised about that about a year ago. We learned her husband, of course, has been working remotely for a little bit, and they got to look at each other and they said, "Where do we want to raise our kids?" And they said, "Wadsworth, Ohio." And so they called me up and said, "Hey, we're thinking about moving to your neck of the woods." And I said, "Don't tell me that unless you are serious. Don't get my hopes up."
Right.
And they were serious. And so here they're now residents of the city and enjoying all the benefits that we certainly know all about. And of course, Mandy grew up here, and so very much aware of all the benefits of Wadsworth.
She wasn't a frequent flyer. I didn't see her in my office very much, assistant principal.
Thank goodness.
And her brother,
Yes,
who also
yes.
in that crew as well.
Yeah.
My cousin moved from California to Wadsworth recently,
Oh, wow.
so it's a small world, and Wadsworth does attract people.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, by the way, for taking time out of your very busy schedule to join us. I really learned a lot from your talk, and I'm sure the residents did too. Daniel Schleif will be my guest next week, and it should be a great show as well. Thanks for viewing.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.